Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of PodJam TV. I'm Marty, I'm here in Connecticut, and Misty is in Cincinnati. How you doing, Misty?
Hi Marty, how are you?
I'm very good. For today's episode of PodJam TV, we decided to tackle a slightly different topic than what we've normally been doing.
Yes, in the past, what we did was we compiled a list of Twitter tips that individuals can actually use in setting up their account and then how they can manage it. But this time, since we've been approached by several people already on how they can actually manage a brand or their small business using Twitter.
We decided to come up with some key tips or points on something that you could use if you're a brand or a business to set up your account on Twitter. And we came up with 7 of them, so let's get right into it with tip number 1. Okay, tip number 1 is set an objective. And what we mean by that is there's really a lot of questions you really need to ask yourself before you even set up your Twitter account.
Yes, it's also important you set goals at the beginning of your campaign, and so you need to answer some of the questions, and one of them would be, why are you setting up your account? Will you be posting content from your own site, or will you be using this as part of your customer service platform? Only when you have established that will you be able to do the next steps properly. Now let's go to tip number 2, and that is setting up a proper Twitter account.
Okay, there are a few things you really need to do when you do set up your account. One of them is write a proper bio. Make sure that you tell people what you're all about in the space provided on your Twitter page. Number 2, use your company logo in your where you can put your image, and that way people identify with your brand. Number 3, set up a Twitter background. On your page, there's space on either side that you can use to set up basically a background image. So you can use your logo, you can use some information about your company, maybe alternate websites or email or something along those lines, just to add to the information about your brand and to let people know what you're all about. Okay, tip number 3 is make a content plan.
Yeah, this is one thing that brands really need to pay a lot of attention to. Plan your content. Plan the content that you want to tweet. Remember, you only have 140 characters to send your message, with the hopes that your followers will even click on them and also share them with their own followers. So make that tweet count. Okay, let's now go to tip number 4. Don't bore people with your content.
And what we mean by that is you really need to learn to balance your content on your Twitter account. Don't send out a bunch of links just to your products or services, which can be considered spam. What you really want to do is certainly send out links to your products or services, but you want to balance that out with other information that your followers may find helpful, and you want to share that with them. Also, you want to make sure that you're engaging with your followers and answering their tweets and their @replies, and really helping them engage with your brand and building audience and building fans and building community. Tip number 5 is manage your Twitter account well.
What we mean by that is have a community manager that knows your brand or your business in and out. He or she should be able to answer questions related to your brand in real time. He or she should also understand Twitter and how it works. Just like in any other social media platform, always remember that your Twitter account will be the portal where your brand message will be heard. Okay, now let's go to tip number 6, and that's build relationship with your customers.
Yes, and what we mean by that is we realize that selling your product or service is certainly very important. That's how you make money and profits. But also the reason why you're going on Twitter and other social media is to build relationships. And when you build relationships, you create fans. And that is very, very important because fans, unlike just customers, will actually advocate for your product or service. And that's the best kind of advertising you can get. When you get that word of mouth going and people are excited about your product or service and really are fans. So the other thing is you really want to make sure, and we mentioned this in our previous tip, is you want to engage online, engage on your Twitter account, answer their tweets, you know, have a conversation, really create that buzz and that excitement about your product, and get that word of mouth going.
Okay, now we're at tip number 7, and that's measure and adjust your strategy.
Yeah, and what we mean by that is, you know, by this time you set up your Twitter account, you're sending out tweets, you're engaging, you're having fun online, and you're talking about your brand. But every once in a while, you want to stop and, you know, really kind of assess what's going on. Are you getting your message out? Are you building engagement? Are you creating fans? And if you're not, then you really want to, you know, make adjustments where necessary. And, you know, because it's all about engagement and building fans, because those are the people that are really going to advocate for your product. So just make sure that you stop, you know, take a look at what you're doing and make adjustments where necessary.
There you go, our 7 tips for setting up a Twitter account for your business or your brand. Hope the tips are really helpful for you.
Yeah, and so we certainly invite you to leave a comment or suggestion on our blog if you have any other additional tips. And that does it for another edition of Podjam TV. We will see you next time.